I think the Iranians will perceive this as an American effort to create in the Persian Gulf what Israel has created in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in Lebanon, in which a ceasefire is essentially unilateral. But the idea that something like this could be done and saying that in and of itself it is not a violation of a ceasefire is very difficult for the Iranians to accept. And I think the Iranians will perceive this as an American effort to create in the Persian Gulf what Israel has created in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in Lebanon, in which a ceasefire is essentially unilateral. The Iranians are supposed to not be able to do anything, but if the U.S. decides to shoot, then that is not in and of itself a violation of the ceasefire. Now, of course, this situation may be more complex. There's conflicting stories as to whether the Iranians started shooting first or not. But the idea that something like this could be done and saying that in and of itself it is not a violation of a ceasefire is very difficult for the Iranians to accept. And it would be the same thing if the Iranians had done it and said that to the American side. Whether there is a chance to go back to a ceasefire and make sure that this doesn't escalate any further is a different story. And here both of them probably have an interest in making sure that this does not get out of control. It can happen at the same time. It certainly does not tend to make things better. I think on the Iranian side, there's a very strong sensitivity that if the U.S. thinks that it can use military force as a tool of diplomacy to pressure and coerce the Iranians at the table, they're not going to accept that. They're going to strike back. Right now, there's probably conversations in Tehran as to whether to strike back very, very hard to show that they're not going to accept becoming the next Lebanon in which the ceasefire is completely unilateral. But they have to weigh many other factors into that equation as well, including the fact that there seems to have been some progress on the diplomatic front in the last couple of days. And the Iranians probably will not want to jeopardize that, but they will also not want to completely remain unresponsive. It could very well be in these ceasefires, it's often the case that the two sides try to test each other to see where are their actual red lines. Is there a way to be able to push forward on various things? Whether this was that or not, or whether it was just simply that you had in the last 24 hours a conclusion of this, 48-hour long project, Freedom, and that those destroyers had to return out of the Persian Gulf and as a result was not part of some larger plan. We simply do not have enough information at this point. Well, this has been a long-standing Iranian position. It has not been responded to in the past. There has been much investment in trying to contain and isolate Iran. At the same time, there are countries in the GCC who did not fully believe in that approach and believe that there needed to be integration and dialogue with Tehran. I think you're going to see a greater split in the GCC, in which some countries are going to go deeper down the path of thinking that security can be achieved through containment and building alliances with countries like Israel in order to balance Iran, and others who will believe that that approach has failed and it's more important to be able to find some sort of a way of coexisting peacefully with Iran. So I think what you're going to see, instead of the GCC moving in tandem, you're going to see the existing splits becoming much, much deeper going forward. So there's an exchange of proposals between the two sides. It's not just an American proposal. Some of these have been leaked in some variations and given the impression that, there's only one proposal being debated. There seems to have been some very significant progress in the last couple of days. There's some very important sticking points. Some of them are going to be very, very challenging to overcome. But there is a prospect for actually getting this resolved. And there's actually been an atmosphere of optimism for the last 24 or so hours in both Washington and in Tehran. It remains to be seen if that optimism will now evaporate as a result of what just has happened in the last 6 hours.